whatever you do, trust yourself and your abilities. And I tell people that it's really important to love your job, because the saying is, if you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. If you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to be so much happier at your job, which makes the job so much easier, but you're going to be so much happier at home, and your family's going to appreciate you so much more. So
you have over 23,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I've been on LinkedIn for quite some time. And I'm starting to see more surgeons get more intentional about posting things on LinkedIn to build their brand, not just around where they work, but what they do and who they are and how they're different. And I think you've done a really, really good job at doing that tactfully. And I'm just curious to hear, like, what was that initial momentum that made you want to start doing that type of thing across different channels?
Yeah, that's a great question. I left my employment in 2021, where I had been employed for 21 years, basically, or almost 21 years. And I hadn't been on social media really much at all. I didn't, I was part of the machine. If I did anything in the community, I did it in the name of the hospital I was working with. And I didn't feel like I needed a social media presence. So I had a LinkedIn account, but I didn't really use it. But then when I left, I wanted my patients to know where I was, because I wasn't really leaving the area. I was just leaving the location for a period of time. So that's when I started getting involved in social media. I had somebody develop a website. I started working on Facebook, or started working with Facebook, and then LinkedIn. And LinkedIn I find it to be a very amazing resource. I met you through LinkedIn. I met Brett Miller and I, who we talked about earlier from the Hurt app. I met him through LinkedIn. So I just meet a lot of different people within orthopedics, and some without, outside of orthopedics, that, you share something and then you comment, and then I call my LinkedIn friends. I have a lot of LinkedIn friends that I would never have communicated with. And I've done some, tried to organize some research studies with some of the docs on LinkedIn, but also just bouncing ideas. So I like to share stuff that I think is interesting, that I think other people would think was interesting.
And I mean, when you got started in doing the social media stuff, is most of your content, do you find certain content to get more engagement than others? I mean, I know there's a lot of docs out there that want to start doing this and they don't really know where to start or what to post.
Yeah, I think at least what my experience is if it's something, a case related, like an interesting case that I do, that people, that's where I get a lot of feedback. But also, it's really just, like I said, it's not really trying to force an opinion. It's more like kind of asking a question, I guess, is easier. Because if you try to force an opinion, then you turn people off, and, this is how you should do it. Well, there's more than one way to do something. Everybody knows that. So, but I think it's just something that you just got to put some time into. It's if you think it's just gonna, happen overnight, it just doesn't. It takes time to kind of develop and to make those connections that have connections. I've done a bunch of these podcasts or interviews, all with people from LinkedIn. Stu Brandon is an orthopedic sales rep that's gone out on his own, and he does a podcast, and him and I spoke probably about 6 or 8 months ago and had similar things in common, just stuff that he's been through with his industry and stuff that I've been through in orthopedics. So it's just trying to find that common ground. And when you find a group of people that have common ground, that's when it kind of builds a little bit more, and then their connections kind of link into your connections. And so
definitely.
It just grows.
It's a sphere of influence, I found. I mean, and for you to be at the amount of followers you are, though, if you said that you just started this a couple years back, I mean, that's tremendous, because I've been at it for, I joined LinkedIn maybe 10 years ago, 12 maybe at most. And it's taken me that long to get to just about the same amount of followers. And obviously I'm in a different industry, but still, nonetheless, that's incredible that you've built that up.
Yeah, no, I started April of 21 is when I kind of decided I needed to do something. So it just started after that. And like I said, with the website, patient testimonials are also a great thing. Obviously when patients share their story and the positive stuff, and it just fosters good vibes.
Yeah, it fosters a lot of trust too, I think. And the more that people start to see, oh, so-and-so trusts them, so they must be a safe person, right? They must be a safe surgeon to go to.
Yeah, I mean, word of mouth. In orthopedics, I think word of mouth is probably your best referral. Somebody's had a great experience just sharing their story, and friends, families. It's interesting. I've been practicing in the same area for, like I said, 24 years. So I've taken care of generations of families. I had a patient who's in his 80s. We replaced his hip, and he was telling me about his grandson that I operated on his ACL like 15 years earlier. And I said, well, and I didn't know. And I was like, well, what's he doing now? He's like, well, he's a lineman. He's climbing poles. I was like, well, I guess the ACL is working. So
Yeah, that's awesome.